Hello everyone, hope you're keeping well. Today we're moving on to measurement, so we're finished with sets for today and we're going to begin to look at the chapter on measurement, which is page 278 of your book, so it's near the very back of it. Now, this chapter should be fairly familiar to you. I would suggest you've done a lot of this stuff in primary school, so it's just about driving home, I suppose, furthermore learning, just making sure you have the concept of the measurement understood. So what we'll be looking at is, first of all, actually I would describe as measuring length. So we have millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers, right? Then we'll move on to doing, I think it's weight then is the next, units of mass. So kilograms, grams, and then we've money then as well. So euros, and then the volume of liquid is liters or milliliters. Years ago in the country, we used to work in imperial measurement, which is known as feet and inches. That's why if you talk to your maybe mum or dad, they'd measure things in feet or inches. Or they might talk about speed limits and they're all being in miles per hour as opposed to kilometers. So I think it was maybe over 20 years ago they actually changed to the metric system, which is what we'll be working today. Some places still use the imperial in the world, like America. So they still work on feet and inches, hence why when you go to Subway, it's either a 6-inch sub or a foot long. A foot long is 12-inch, alright? So you still see imperial being used. It's important to know both, but we're going to work with metric, which is what you've been using all your life. You wouldn't have used anything else. Okay, so firstly then what we're looking at is units of length. So you have the smallest unit of length in the system we use is millimeters. Alright, you can go smaller than that, but we'll never use that. So we use millimeters, centimeters, meters, and then we have kilometers. Alright, so if we look here, you can see the metric system. This pencil is 7 centimeters and 8 millimeters in length. So if you look up along, you will see 1 centimeter is actually comprised of 10 millimeters, okay, which is down in the table here below. So this table here, if I can highlight this for you, hold on there now. Okay, so I want you to take that table down into your copy. It didn't paste out right there for me. I want you to take that down into your copy there. Alright, so that table right there. I'll snip into it here now. Okay, that's better now. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to take down, is that kind of section there. So we have 100 meters equals, 1,000 meters equal 1 kilometer. And the short way to write that is 1,000 m equals 1 km. This should all be very familiar to you. 1 meter is comprised of 100 centimeters. 1 m equals 100 cm. 1 meter is also comprised of 1,000 millimeters. Okay, so that's wrote as mm, and then 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. If you would work with me or anything, or in the metal work room, you'll always be given your measurements in millimeters as opposed to centimeters. So when you're building things like that, millimeters is what you always work with. So if you get given 278 millimeters, you should know that that's 27.8 centimeters. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to take down, that section there. We'll then scroll down here then. So it gives us an example of converting 37 millimeters to centimeters. So 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. So convert millimeters to centimeters, divide by 10. So if you have 37 millimeters, as it says here, so 37 millimeters equals 37 divided by 10 centimeters, which equals 3.7 centimeters. Now, when I work like that, do I do that in my head? No, I just know 37 mil is 3.7 centimeters. Okay, so you'll eventually get quick at working these out. If they ask you here to have it here, and the third example, 3.8 kilometers, right, to meters they want, alright? So that's 3.8 kilometers multiplied by 1,000 meters. Why? Because there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer. It's 3,800 meters. I'm sure you kind of know this, well, I would think you would anyway. Alright. Now, I suppose then the next thing then is when you're going to measure something, you have to know what unit to use. So exercise 17.1, we'll have a look at this for a minute. Now, which of these units would you use to measure each of the lengths of these? Now, you could use any unit to measure them realistically, but the length of a pen, in my opinion, the length of a pen, you would use millimeters. Now, you could argue you'd use centimeters as well, but I would use millimeters. Why? Because it's more accurate. The length of a football pitch. Well, is the length of a football pitch longer than a kilometer? No, I wouldn't think so. So I'd measure the length of a football pitch in meters. Then you have the length of or the thickness of a bathroom tile. The thickness of a bathroom tile is definitely going to be millimeters, okay? And things like thicknesses of timber nowadays, you'll see in the woodwork room, are all in millimeters. So any thickness like that is millimeters. The height of a giraffe would be meters. The thickness of an exercise book, yet again, millimeters. And the perimeter of a basketball court, I would think, would be meters again. Alright, so the perimeter is the outside edge. Now, so what they ask you here is measure the lengths of the lines given and give your answers in centimeters and millimeters. The one thing I'll say to you, lads, if a lot of you have short rulers or anything like that, is make sure you don't get confused between the inches and centimeters side. I see a lot of lads do that when they start off in the woodwork room. Instead of marking in 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters, they actually mark in an inch, which is completely different. An inch is actually 25 millimeters. So don't get confused in that. The bigger units on your ruler are inches, the smaller ones divided into tens are your millimeters and centimeters. So just make sure you get used to that. Then they have here, then use a ruler to draw lengths of 6 centimeters, 75. I wouldn't insult you with that. I'm sure you're well able to do that. Question 4 here then. What reading in millimeters is given by each pointer, right? So the way in which you do this is, you see between 3 and 4, there's actually a longer line. That denotes that that's halfway, alright? So that's 3.5 centimeters, right? Now, you count up 1, 3.6, so it's 3.7 centimeters, alright? So it's 3.7 centimeters, right? You know that that's 37 millimeters. Why? Because there's 10 centimeters in, or 10 millimeters in a centimeter, so it's 37 millimeters. Okay. Now, all these questions down along here, just looking to convert from meters to kilometers, back down the way, so on, so forth, right? And that's literally all you have to learn on measurement in terms of length. So I think I'll only actually confuse you more than talking. I'm sure you're well able to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to do some questions here now. Okay, so what you have here to do is page 280, question 5, question 6, question 7, question 8, and question 9. They actually won't take you that long. I'll give you 5 questions there. You should be well able to do them in about 10-15 minutes, I think. So all they're kind of asking you to do is, if we go back up here, is complete and copy each of the following. 5 centimeters equals how many millimeters? Okay, it's going to be 50 millimeters. 6.8 centimeters equals 68 millimeters, so on. Maria had a broken ruler. Find the length of the strip in centimeters and millimeters. Just make sure you see that strip doesn't actually start at the 0 of the end of the ruler. That's I don't know why they give you a question like that. It's a bit stupid, but do it anyway. You'll be able to work it out. Copy and complete each of the following. 1 centimeter or 100 centimeters equals what? It's going to be 1 meter. And so on and so forth. 8. What length does the pointer show in meters? Meters and centimeters. And then 9. Express the following meters. Okay? So just make sure you put your decimal point in the right place. That's it for today. The next day then I'll give you more of these questions to do. I'm sure you'll be well able to work them out. And the following day then we'll go on to units of mass or weight. So that's working with kilograms and grams. Okay, thanks very much.